Hello, candidates. I'm Mr. Amuom. Once more, we are here for English, and in particular, paper 3 in Adult's House. Now, this is what we have. First of all, we need to look at Adult's House once more, and we look at the questions that will help us understand the book better. One thing we need to remind ourselves is about the requirements. First of all, there is need to have the following areas. One, a good essay must have an introduction, which will fetch 2 marks. The tests must come out in that introduction and the link. Then we'll have the body, again 12 marks, 4 episodic sentences. Let us remember that each sentence must touch the levels of interpretation, and the details of the various levels must be provided. Now, when we talk about the levels of interpretations, in most cases, standard questions are said to be 2-tier. That means that it has 2 parts, and the 2 parts must come out. Now, each and every paragraph, episodic sentence will fetch 3 marks. Then we'll have a conclusion, which must have the following features. One, a conclusion must be valid. It must be deliberate. When we say it is valid, is that it must recap the question. Then it must be deliberate. And then we must remember that it must also be independent. Then finally, we'll have marks allocated to grammar. The linguistic mark in paper 3 is pegged on the scores acquired in the body of an essay, such that if the scores are between 0-1, if in the body the candidate has scored between 0-1 to 0-4, then the linguistic mark is 1. If the candidate has scored between 5 and 6, the linguistic mark is 2. If the candidate has 7 to 8, the linguistic mark automatically is 3. And if the candidate has 9 and above, then the linguistic mark is 4 out of 4. Now, I want us to look at this question to train ourselves on how we are supposed to read and answer the questions in Adult's House. Now, we have a question here. A friend in need is a friend indeed. Write this essay with illustrations from Adult's House. Now, that is our question. But how do we go about it? First of all, it is important to underscore the phrases or the keywords in the question. For example, in the question that we are talking of a friend. So who is a friend in Adult's House? We are talking of need. So these friends must, one of them is in need. And the other person genuinely, whoever counts for a friend, will genuinely, honestly work for the good of to bail out the friend that is in need. Now, in the introduction, we are going to come up with we must bring up these ideas. For instance, we must ask ourselves, the question at hand is about characters. Now, who are these characters? Who are the characters that are in need? Number 1, we find Mrs. Linde is in need. Who helps Mrs. Linde? Nora. So Nora is a friend. At a time when Mrs. Linde is in need, Nora comes in. So the 2 characters. Now, who is a friend? Nora is also a friend to Tovad. At a time when Tovad is sick, at a time when Tovad has health challenges, Nora can go out of her way to save Tovad. Now, who is the other friend? Now, the other friends, we find Mrs. Linde is also a friend to Krogstad. At a time when Krogstad's name is soiled, to a point that nobody in the public, so Nora is, Mrs. Linde is willing to help, accept Tovad in that. Then the other friend are the helpers. Mrs. Nora and Tobert are also friends to Dr. Rank. This is a man that is sickly. This is a man that is lonely. But with the company of the Helmers, then we find, now we are asking ourselves that as we write this, the word, who are these characters? So a student that is able to tell us how so and so is a friend to so and so because of this need, then that student will score the 1 mark. We call it a theme in paper 3. Then, if a student is able to bring out, the candidate should bring out the details of the need, then that candidate is at fair. The candidate who tells us of the details of how the friend that helps stands by those in need, that is where we'll have our full. Now we want to see, we are going to take that question that we have highlighted to see how to go about all this. For example, this is our sample essay, and therefore the word in a doll's house tells us that the candidate is not talking about something that is out of ordinary. This is not the candidate's creation, but these are things that happen in a doll's house. The desire to help a companion out of a problem is truly what friendship is all about. Now at that point, if you look at that question, the link is there in a doll's house. In that question, the need is there, the problem. In that question, the word friend is there, companion, and the word truly being able to to desire to help. That is what brings out the fact that this is a friend indeed. This is a true friend. So at that point, if a candidate does that, then he has his marks. Now look at this. For weak students, we encourage that we go for 2 sentences. The second sentence is more specific. We now ask ourselves and dig into a doll's house and pick an instance. And we are saying that, for example, Nora is keener in helping Tobert out from his sickness. Sickness is the need. To a point, she braves traditional restrictions for the good of Tobert. Now, an introduction is not supposed to be so elaborate. It should not pick a lot of details, and it gives the hang of the question with respect to the storylines in the book. Now, look at the first point. This is what we call episodic sentence. F1, friendship. That is, Nora, out of strong desire to assist Mrs. Linde in her hour of need after the death of the husband. She had nothing in her possession, and out of sympathy, Nora uses her influence over Tobert to get Mrs. Linde a job. Now that is what we call episodic sentence. It should answer the question. The question is about a friend in need. Is a friend indeed. Now we are pointing out that Nora is a friend. The friend in need is Mrs. Linde. What is her need? The fact that she's bereft of the husband. The fact that she's left with nothing to inherit. But Nora comes in to persuade the husband to give Linde a job. Because the two of them were friends right from high school. Now in that context, in order for the candidate to score fair, there will be need to bring out the details of the deed. They are in page 10 and page 11. And then the details of how does Nora persuade Tobert to do this. We find this in page 15. We find this in page 18. Now we are moving on. In F2, again Nora stands by Tobert when he becomes sick and goes further to secure a loan to meet Tobert's medical needs, even when tradition does not allow it. That answers the question. We can see who is in need. Tobert. What is the need? Is poor health. How does Nora come in? Nora comes in by supporting Tobert in whichever way, including securing a loan so that Tobert's medical needs are catered for. The details of the need is here. This will tell us how Toward is in a dangerous situation. The details of the indeed is here. The truthfulness of Nora in supporting Toward is also coming out in this. How she braves everything to secure a loan for the sake of Toward's medical expenses. Now, we are in F3, which is the Helmers. I've stood by Dr. Ram during his sickness and even offered him company when he needed it most. Toward is the man in need. The details of his need is the fact that he's wretched, the fact that he's suffering from a spinal disease, the fact that this is a disease that is not responsible, but his father is to blame, and there's nothing he can do about it. He is headed for death. But the people that are closer to Dr. Ram are Helma and the wife, Nora. The two of them offer Toward a company. They provide an ideal family setup that helps Toward Dr. Ram. Though he's dying, he finally dies a happy man. Now look at F4. Mrs. Linde accepts not only to stand by Krogstad, but also marry him despite his negative image in the society. I want to pick this area so that we demonstrate, and we'll go straight away to page 35. In page 35, we'll pick words. If you look at page 35, the third Krogstad is, we can read, "Listen to me, Mrs. Helmer. If necessary, I am prepared to fight for my small post in the bank, as if I were fighting for my life." So that is the background. Then the next Krogstad, it is not only for the sake of the money. So Toward is telling us why he needs to salvage his work at the bank. People may think that he needs this work because he's earning money out of it. But he's telling us that it is not only for the sake of the money. Indeed, that weighs least with me in the matter. There is another reason. Well, I may as well tell you, my position is this. I dare say, like everybody else, that once, many years ago, I was guilty of an indiscretion. Nora, I think I've had something of the kind. Then look at the next Krogstad. The matter never came up into court, but every way seemed to be close to me after that. So I took the business to the business that you know of. Now, if you look at page 87, that is the background. In page 87, the second last, Mrs. Linde. You say you are like a shipwrecked, not the first Krogstad of page 87, more gently. When I lost you, it was as if all the solid ground went from under my feet. Look at me now. I'm a shipwrecked man, clinging to a bit of wreckage. So that is what Toward is. That is his need, that is being judged unfairly by the society, and therefore is like a sinking ship. That's why he's saying that. Then in the second last, Mrs. Linde, you say you are like a shipwrecked man, clinging to some wreckage. Then when we go to page 88, the first, Mrs. Linde, names, how would it be if we two shipwrecked people could join forces? Now we have seen the desperation that Krogstad is in, to a point that he's even saying in the last page of that page, and you know what they think of me here. So his image has really gotten a beating, and Toward thinks that it would not be right, that if Mrs. Linde would have known the truth about his reputation that has suffered, then Mrs. Linde would have not offered to marry him at that point. But now look at the third last, Mrs. Linde. That is now the support. That is now what proves that she's indeed a friend to Krogstad. I could not endure life without work. All my life, as long as I can remember, I've worked, and it has been my greatest and only pleasure. But now I am quite alone in the world. My life is so dreadfully empty, and I feel so forsaken. There is not the least pleasure working for oneself. Needs. Give me someone and something to work for. Page 89, Mrs. Linde, the third one. I want to be a mother to someone, and your children need a mother. We too need each other needs. I have faith in your real character. I can dare anything together with you. So at a time when Krogstad does not imagine that anybody would want to identify with him because of his poor image, Mrs. Linde is very supportive. Mrs. Linde has promised that she wants to work for the family. She wants to work for someone. She wants to work for she wants to become a mother. She feels there should be a reason for her working. And in the long run, she's concluding by saying that with him, with her, then Krogstad is going to dare the challenges that he has with that support. In conclusion, we say that the conclusion is supposed to be deliberate. When we talk of deliberate, then it means the word must be there. That is when it is deliberate. It must also be independent. That means that it must be in a paragraph of its own. Then it must finally be valid. For example, it must be a statement that echoes what the question is all about. For example, in conclusion, genuine friendship is about propping one another during trying times. Are there trying times in the question? Yes. Are there friends that have proved to be genuine and stood by people who are in friends? There are friends who are in need? Yes. That makes this conclusion valid. Finally, as we wind up, I want us to take a homework. And the question is, necessity is the mother of invention. Using illustrations from Henrik Ibsen's A Doll's House, write an essay to support this claim. So again, we have two tires. You must identify the necessity. You must identify the reason that is brought about by that necessity. Two-tier question once more. The introduction must be appropriate. All the other parts must be done rightly so that we do a good job. Let us practice more. Let us link up with various teachers in various walls, in various circles, so that we practice and get that right. Thank you. May God bless you.